Log entry number 1. Wold 23rd, 3:14 a.m. marked the moment our lives shattered. I knew there was something off when the alarms blared and the sirens let loose their dreadful cries. The emergency shutters sealed the building before the first explosion hit us. The archives, once a sanctuary of words and wisdom, became our prison. Now no one dares to speak above a whisper, fearing what lurks beyond our sealed doors. Every corner feels heavy, each shadow a reminder of what we've lost. Everyone here was on night shift, except Oscar. Oscar is part of some branch of the military, though he won't say which, and is evasive as to why he was here in the first place. He took charge quickly and is very good at getting everyone in line, but something about him rubs me the wrong way. As the shift of guards rotates, the 20 of us gravitate toward the main hall, clustering around our makeshift supply depot. The echoes of empty cans resonate against the silence, an agonizing reminder of the limited resources we have. We have no power. The main power generator for the building must have been destroyed in the attack, and the emergency power only lasted a few hours. The Exonet terminals, digital records, Labos units, even the environmental controls are all out, let alone the lockdown controls. The only things that have power are an old Civic emergency radio, 2 flashlights, and a holo terminal. It seems like it was used for new hire training back before Labos units handled the books exclusively, when people still needed to know how to do that. It's probably running on some old chemical battery or something. Once a module is played, it becomes inaccessible. Another thing to ration. What was supposed to be ongoing training modules suddenly seems trivial, a world we can no longer access. I wish I could focus, but when I close my eyes, all I see are the faces of those I didn't make it with. I worry that we might run out of time before we figure out a way to get out. The air smells strange. I can't tell if it's the dust settling or something worse. We're safe for now, but for how long? Log entry number 2. The uncertainty gnaws at my insides like a feral animal. The building groans and settles every couple of hours, and we all jump at the sound. Emily keeps talking about the outside world, how vibrant it was. It feels like a cruel joke now. We've set up a makeshift kitchen near the reference desk, if you can call it that. We made lunch out of expired canned beans. I'm not sure if it's fear or the taste that's making me feel sick. Oscar insisted on taking shifts to keep watch. Nobody sleeps well anymore. We've divided duties, food, water, and lookouts. But I can't shake the feeling that we're just waiting for the next wave of bombs. It's endless. This morning, we stumbled upon a collection of children's books on the 5th floor. They must have been knocked down in the chaos. I watched as Trist read and sang to the others, simple rhymes and lullabies that felt like shattered glass in our throats. We laughed at the memories of story time, but I can see the pain in everyone's eyes. I can hear the distant rumble of what could be aftershocks or fading cries of those who weren't as lucky. Log entry number 3. Time has passed like a slow crawl through Ora Cola syrup. The silence is shattered only by the intermittent groans and shuffling sounds outside. They haunt my dreams and invade my thoughts. It feels as though we're being watched, stalked by shadows whose origins we cannot fathom. They send shivers down my spine. At first, I thought it was just wind, but no, they are almost like voices, guttural whispers. It could be others, survivors. Should we help them? Or is it a trap, a threat? At least, the building seems to have finished settling. We've settled into a grim routine. Though we have enough for perhaps a month, rationing our remaining food has become a strategic game, always with the specter of hunger looming over us. Oscar keeps insisting on check-ins with the outside world on the radio, but so far only static. It feels hopeless, but it's the only thread we have left. There was a moment where I felt a flicker of hope. We shared stories from our lives before, laughing and crying. It felt too fragile for this reality. But it reminded me that we are still people, still alive. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I want to believe there's a reason for hope among these shadows and empty halls. I spent hours today watching training modules on a holographic display, trying to immerse myself in thoughts of cataloging and customer service, a strange pretense of normalcy. I can't tell if it helps or just deepens the chasm of despair. I crave knowledge, but now I'm drowning in uncertainty. Log entry number 4. We're nearing 2 weeks now, and the groans outside haven't ceased. If anything, they've grown louder, more frequent. Each day feels like a monotonous echo of the last, punctuated by the unsettling sounds that remind me we are not alone and not safe. Today, we organized a scavenger hunt in the stacks. Gina led us to search for any remaining food supplies, a desperate attempt to distract ourselves from the fear gnawing at our minds. Instead, we found a deep vein of unsettling fear flowing among us. I stumbled upon an old library shelf filled with reference books we thought had long been forgotten. They seemed to all be related to technology, science, and language. I'm not sure why those three topics specifically. I can't shake the feeling that there's something more hidden behind them. A way out, or perhaps a truth we cannot face. I'm both terrified and drawn to the idea. I'll explore it further when I can muster the courage. Something about that shelf calls to me, like there is knowledge there that is drawing me towards it. I realize today that I haven't thought about anything but survival. I haven't thought about my family, my friends. I have texts I can't send, calls I can't make. The thought of them, alive or dead, haunts me. Should I be grieving? Worrying? Or is it better to push those thoughts away? Log entry number 5. I can barely recognize the faces of my friends, my coworkers. Their expressions have shifted from hope to despair and now to resignation. Oscar's attempts to command us around like foot soldiers have finally stopped. I think he's accepted that archivists, especially sleep-deprived and hungry ones, are not fit to be soldiers, and no amount of yelling and posturing will change that. I discovered something today. A secret door behind that shelf of reference books, hidden away like a dark secret. I was looking through the technology books back there, hoping to find something that could help us fix the power, and I noticed a strange symbol on the wall behind one of the books. A little circle with a harp and a crescent moon. I called some of the others over to help me clear the shelf, and that's when we saw the seams in the wall. There is definitely some kind of door back there, but it won't budge. It's as sealed as the exits. We gathered around, examining it with mixed emotions: dread, hope, disbelief. What lies beyond it? I almost feel like a frightened child in an adventure story, yearning to burst through and uncover a hidden treasure, or perhaps even a way out of this nightmare. Whatever is behind it feels like it needs to be discovered. I'm certain it's the key to our survival. I turned to the holographic display again today. These modules of outdated librarian lore that once felt trivial now offer a comforting distraction. Yet beneath the surface, I can sense the existential dread clawing at us all. Time is slipping like sand through our fingers. Log entry number 6. We are running low on water, and the air has begun to feel stale, oppressive. Each waking breath feels like a weight resting on our chests. The hunger is creeping back, insatiable and relentless. The groaning sounds outside have amplified, transformed into something more visceral, hungry, tormented. We can't stay here forever. Every time I think of that door hidden behind the books, a rage rises in me. What if it's our only salvation? Some of us have begun losing hope. I can see it in their eyes each time I blink. I can see the fracture lines forming. We've started arguing more. Every conversation feels fraught with tension. Oscar insists we have to find a way to escape. We're fragile, and I don't know how much longer I can hold us together. Log entry 7. I'm writing with trembling hands. I'm still trying to process what happened today. In their desperation, and maybe rage, a group of survivors devised a plan to escape through the building's generator's coolant line. Oscar and the others, those I considered friends, turned on each other. The fight broke out, chaos erupting as we clawed for the last scraps of food. In the madness, Jennifer and Dom were killed, struck down by hands that once were only meant to help one another. I stood frozen, unable to comprehend the transformation of our humanity into something monstrous. I watched them steal most of our remaining supplies and crawl into the darkness, desperate for freedom, selfish and scared. I don't know if they'll make it. I can't escape the feeling that they've betrayed us all. It's just the 4 of us now: Jaina, Emily, Trist, and me. Log entry number 8. It's been 3 days since that fateful night, and the mood has shifted dramatically. The silence is more pronounced now, a dense blanket of dread shrouding over weary souls. I catch glimpses of shadows flitting between the bookshelves. Was it merely my imagination, or are there other presences lurking in the dark? I miss the warmth of camaraderie among us. I can feel that division, that raw scar left by betrayal. Emily and Jenna moved to the far corners of our sanctuary, huddling together like frightened animals. We barely speak now, and when we do, our words are sharp like knives. Every laugh is strained, every casual remark feels layered with despair. Trist is sick and asleep most of the time. She's running a high fever, and her skin is beginning to develop boils. I've kept her in the dark about what's happened since the night of the fight. I ventured to that hidden door again. I can't let it go. I felt the cold metal, but it is unyielding, mocking my desperation. Why would it be here but remain shut tight? I must find a way to break through, to find hope. For now, the holographic modules have become my refuge, a soothing balm to my fraying mind. Log entry number 9. 7 days since the conflict erupted, and I can hardly keep my grip on reality. Each day seems indistinguishable from the last, a loop of monotony filled with a growing sense of hopelessness. The sound of silence has become oppressive, echoing in my ears. Food is becoming a bitter memory. Our rations are obliterated. I find my mind wandering to dark places, horrible fantasies of survival that involve terrible choices. I dread the thoughts that creep in to distract me from the gnawing hunger. Trist needs medicine badly. Her breath is shallow, and her skin has all but completely peeled off. I looked through as many of the medical books I could find, and I'm pretty certain she has radiation poisoning. How did she get irradiated, though? According to the book, she must have been hit between 1 and 2 weeks ago at most. Was she the only one exposed? Are we at risk as well? She was not exposed to anything the rest of us weren't, so it must be something specific to her. The only thing I can think of is her race. She's the only full-blooded elf. Jaina is half-elf, and she is fine, so it probably isn't that. In any case, all I can do for Trist now is to keep her comfortable until... I had a fleeting moment of clarity. When I looked at the others, I realized we had little left to lose. I watched Emily crack open a book about the art of survival and begin methodically to search for edible plants in the pages. Her eyes were wide, feverish. She seems lost in delusion. Yet it ignited a spark in me. This library is filled with knowledge, and perhaps we can find something buried in the dust that will guide me to opening the door. I must keep digging for answers, even as I feel my sanity fraying. Log entry number 10. I wish I could say things improved, but the gloom tightens its grip with each passing day. The air grows heavier and even more stale, suffocating us in its grasp. We are mere shadows of ourselves, haunted by our past and paralyzed by a bleak future. Trist is still holding on, but not getting better. She's lost her vision, and when she's conscious, only mutters in gibberish. She almost sounds like whatever is outside. I have been giving her extra water from my rations. She can't hold down food at this point. Part of me wonders if I should. If she has no chance at recovery, should we end her suffering and split her rations? I feel guilty even having those thoughts. I know that Oscar would have killed her the moment she was too sick to move. But Oscar is a monster. I hope that whatever fate he and the others found out there was... For now, I sing to her. The lullaby she sang in the children's section. That moment of fleeting happiness seems a distant memory at this point, but singing to her seems to help her sleep. My thoughts persistently return to that hidden door. I've decided to round up what tools we have left. Borrowed paper clips, a battered screwdriver, a few other items I could scavenge from the supply closet. Perhaps I can dismantle the shelf. Perhaps whatever lies beyond holds the answers or a way to escape this nightmare. I overheard Emily and Jaina talking about splitting up, attempting to sneak out, anything to free themselves from this hell. I understand. The temptation gnaws at me as well. But leaving means leaving Trist behind, abandoning a part of me I can't just leave in this ghostly darkness. Log entry number 11. Trist passed last night. She called out for me, a guttural, sputtering moan. I'm pretty sure her sense of touch is gone, but I held her hand and talked to her. I don't know if she could understand me. She sputtered and groaned while I spoke, but when I began singing her lullaby, she relaxed and became calm. I sang to her for what must have been a half an hour. When I stopped, I knew. I wrapped her up in one of the blankets from the break room, and Jaina and Emily laid her with Dom and Jennifer in the storage closet. Jaina sang a Catalonian funeral prayer, and Emily offered an origami flower. It's all we can do. Log entry number 12. Today, I reached my breaking point. I've spent my nights working on that hidden door, and I made progress. Tiny, but progress nonetheless. The shelf creaked ominously when I nudged it, but it remains a stubborn obstacle. But the atmosphere here is descending deeper into madness. I caught Jaina watching me with wild eyes today. She murmured about needing to leave, about people outside, and that time was running out. It felt absurd, like a warning bell clamoring in my mind. I can feel tension pooling between us, growing sharper by the second. In a moment of desperation, I tried to convince them to finish watching the remaining training modules together, seeking some kind of normalcy. But it fell flat. No one wanted to indulge anymore. We are too steeped in our own despair. I know that she has a point. We are out of food and almost out of water. The air has grown thin. Despite the size of the building, there isn't enough of it left to sustain us much longer. If we could just get the door open, I know we would be okay. Log entry number 13. Trist attacked us. Last night, as sleep was about to take me, I heard something. A distant crash, followed by guttural noises that pierced through the silence. I froze, heart pounding. I could hear the shuffling of feet on carpet growing closer and closer. I grabbed the screwdriver and drew myself as far into the nook under the reference desk as I could. The shuffling stopped, and I could hear the raspy, ragged breathing. It was the same breathing I had heard for days and days, Trist's breathing. I hesitantly called out to her, and she groaned loudly in response before flipping the desk over and lunging at me. I scrambled away, screaming at her melted and oozing form. She was barely recognizable, more creature now than person. I pleaded for her to stop. For some reason, I don't know why, I began to sing her the lullaby I sang while she passed. She instantly became calm, and after a moment, sat down and began a soft cooing. As I sang and thought of what to do next, Jaina appeared from the darkness behind her and bashed her head in. I can still see the moment of impact. The way her head popped open. The spray of glowing green liquid. The wild look on Jaina's face. I think that moment will haunt me forever. I cleaned up as best I could, put the body back with the others in the closet, and tipped a shelf over in front of it. Emily's eyes have been vacant since then. I think something has broken inside her. We are all fragments of who we once were. If we break apart too much, I fear we might shatter entirely. Log entry. I can't even bring myself to count today's numeric designation. Each day is just a repeat of the one before. I managed to pry the door open a crack. I thought I felt a rush of cool air wafting through. Whatever awaited on the other side was almost within reach. But in my triumph, I heard the noise again. The same noise Trist made when she returned. Emily and Jaina seemed convinced we weren't alone. They gathered their belongings and grew frantic, fraying at the edges. Somewhere inside me, I could sense that something had shifted in the library. Some unseen presence had infiltrated our haven. As I tried to persuade Emily and Jaina to trust the door, they turned on me. A new layer of survival instincts complicated our already tangled web of relationships. With trembling hands, they dragged their supplies away from me, embracing fear more than the chance of freedom. They're leaving today, and I struggle with whether to follow or stay. A slow bleed of choices between solidarity and self-preservation. The weight of isolation rattles my core. If I abandon them, what does it make me? If I could just convince them to help me with the door, I know that we would survive. There's air in there. There might be food and water as well. Whatever is in there calls to me, desperate for me to find it. I can't leave without opening the door. Log entry. I think that whatever happened to Trist is happening to me. After Emily and Jaina left, I began feeling weak. I thought it was hunger or hypoxia, but when I noticed the boils forming and developed a fever, I knew. Before I'm unable to function, I have to figure out what lies behind that door. As I was combing through the books, I noticed that all of them have a little tag on the spines with numbers and letters. I might have noticed sooner, were I not relying on my flashlight to see. Unlike the others, I cannot see in the dark. If only the power were still on, we could ask the Labus units what these mean, or access the digital archives, or open the doors. I thought these numbers might offer some clues to the collection of books in that strange shelf in the back, so I returned to that area to investigate further. The books all have similar numbers and letters on them. I wonder if the training modules have any information on what these are and what they mean. Maybe they're connected to the door somehow. I'll watch the last module, but I have to rest first. I'm so tired. Final entry. My eyesight is going and it hurts to move. Writing is agony, breathing is growing difficult as well. This will be my final entry. As the silence settles heavily over the library, I know I am the last left here. Whatever lies behind the door is beyond my reach now. I don't know if my words will ever reach those who come next, but I hope this log, this eulogy, will be my testament somewhere. I want to be remembered for myself, for the people we lost, the hope that slipped away. Goodbye, Ada Adler, last archivist of the Eastern Archives.